10-yard line. The snap comes to Ben Roethlisberger. Throws a pass down the right sideline, intended for Vance McDonald. Picked off by, of all people, Miles Jack at the Pittsburgh 18 with both his tippy toes in place, and it counted. And all it took was one play later for the Jacksonville Jaguars. A ball handed off from Bortles to Fournette again, goes to the right sideline, and just gets his feet inbounds at the pylon, at the right corner pylon. Touchdown, Jacksonville. They're up 14-0 already. Then, of course, on another brilliant touchdown play, it was at the goal line. Second and goal at the Pittsburgh 4. Bortles add the shotgun formation, hands off to T.J. Yeldon, going to the left sideline, would just hit, barely getting the ball over the goal line. Touchdown, Jacksonville. And then Le'Veon Bell goes for a huge run. And then 1st and 10 from the Jacksonville 23. This was the first score of the game because they're down 21-0. They need something to happen. Roethlisberger gets the ball out of the snap, throws a beautifully placed touchdown pass to Antonio Brown from 23 yards out with his one-handed, with great coverage by A.J. Bowie, but with all that great coverage, nothing could come from it. So it's 21-7 Jacksonville at this point. So then later on, Pittsburgh gets the ball. It's 2nd and 10 from the Jacksonville 47. Roethlisberger gets the ball snapped and goes back. The ball strip sacked by Yannick Ngakoue of the Jacksonville defense. Recovered at the 50-yard line by Telvin Smith, who goes down the right sideline and gets a fumble recovery touchdown for the Jaguars. That's two major turnovers. Actually, 3 major turnovers, including that 4th down conversion that didn't work so well for Le'Veon Bell for Pittsburgh. And that 3rd turnover in the first half resulted in a 50-yard fumble recovery touchdown by Telvin Smith. It's 28-7. Then it's 4th and 11 from the Jacksonville 36. Roethlisberger throws the ball up in the air, out of all people, to Martavis Brown, who came out of the slot with Tajon Gibson, the free safety, guarding him. And still, Martavis Brown manages to catch the pass, bucket style, and it's 28-14. They come at, so they're down 28-14 at the half. They come at the half, 3rd and 9 on a wheel route play by Le'Veon Bell. Gets the ball, gets a 19-yard touchdown catch with Telvin Smith covering him, and still 28-21. 4th and 10 block. Pittsburgh is able to get a huge mistake from that Jacksonville special team. So they get the ball at the Jacksonville 48. Nothing they did with it. Then on the ensuing Jacksonville scoring drive, and here it goes. A 48-yard pass from Blake Bortles to Keelan Cole, and he's able, then eventually leading to a 3-yard rushing touchdown, 35-21. 4th and 5, Roethlisberger from the Jacksonville 43 throws an amazing touchdown pass again to Antonio Brown with A.J. Bowie covering him. Then D. Westbrook and T.J. Yeldon get huge plays on the ensuing Jaguars drive, leading to a play-action 14-yard pass to Tommy Bohannon, 35-21. Then a 9 yards backward pass to Le'Veon Bell. It's 42-35 in the game. 45-yard field goal then by Josh Lambo for the Jacksonville Jaguars, 45-35. They lead by 10 points. Then 1st and goal from the Jacksonville 5. Intentional grounding by, of all people, Le'Veon Roethlisberger. 10-second runoff and a loss of downs. Then on the final play of the game, Juju Smith-Schuster gets a 10-yard touchdown catch, but it wasn't enough. Jaguars beat the Steelers 45-42, leading to the AFC Championship game coming up this weekend between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm kind of missing my flags this week, and I'm sorry about that, folks. What we got to look for in this game is the number one passing offense. How are they going to be able to counter Tom Brady? And how are they going to be able to stop him from getting those big touchdown throws to, say, a guy like Brandon Cooks? But it doesn't matter, because when it comes to New England, they always know how to adjust to teams on the fly or before games or during games. They are probably one of the most well-organized teams when it comes to studying their opponents. And they don't like to give bulletin board material, unlike a certain young cornerback named Jalen Ramsey from Jacksonville, who said, and I quote, "We are going to the Super Bowl and we're going to win." Well, first things first, Jalen, you have to beat New England to have the right to represent the AFC in the big game. Then, and only then, maybe whoever you play, whether it's Minnesota or Philadelphia, if you beat them, then you can say you won the Super Bowl. Not before this game, though, against a sleeping giant. When you got Tom Brady and you have a crazy three-headed monster type situation in the backfield with James White, Brandon Bolden, who can run the ball, Rex Burkhead, who's going to make his return this week, and Deion Lewis, four-headed monster, if you ask me. And then you got Rob Gronkowski, too. Let's see how Barry Church is able to guard him. That's going to be an interesting matchup. And then seeing Jalen Ramsey against Brandon Cooks or A.J. Bowie against Brandon Cooks, that's going to be another good matchup to look for. So it's going to be Pittsburgh. It's going to be New England's offense versus Jacksonville's defense. Winner of that game, I think, wins this game because honestly, the way Jacksonville has to win is with Blake Bortles not making any mistakes, no turnovers, and running occasionally with the football. He's going to have a problem doing that against this Patriots defense, no matter what. Even with all the rumors of the hand injury that Tom Brady had, Tom Brady's going to come out guns a-blazing, throwing those short intermediate touchdown passes and taking advantage of that cover 3 defense that Jacksonville has, despite the fact that Jacksonville only gives 169 yards a game. They're one of the top 10 defenses. Second most in sacks at 55. You do have to deal with that offensive line for Pittsburgh is going to have to really be on their A game, though, when it comes to the defensive line of Jacksonville's front seven. You think about Telvin Smith, Dante Fowler, Malik Jackson, Yannick Ngakoue, and the team leader in sacks at 14, Calais Campbell. But, as always, New England game plans very well. Experienced 7th consecutive AFC title game. And that's why I think I'm going with a New England Patriots victory over Jacksonville. The only way Jacksonville wins, as I mentioned, they have to run the ball. They have to the defense is going to have to hit Brady right in the mouth and really infuriate him and cause him to panic and make mistakes. And as I mentioned last week to Tennessee, if you do that, you win. They didn't do that, so therefore they didn't win. But Jacksonville is a better class of opponent than Tennessee is. But at the end of the day, I still think New England has all the materials they need and the players in their possession, in their weaponry, to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that's why I think they will be going to their 3rd Super Bowl appearance in 4 years. Give me New England Patriots. And that is the AFC side of things. Now let's go on to the NFC side, recapping the divisional round weekend. Atlanta Falcons, Philadelphia Eagles. Falcons team just winning at the right time, including in the final week of the season against the Carolina Panthers at home. And much needed in order to get that final playoff spot. And coming off their 26-13 victory in the Coliseum against the LA Rams. So with a lot of momentum, a good receiver in Julio Jones, and hopefully the rest of the receiving corps contributing. Fortunately, they didn't really come out to play with the exception of Julio Jones. Neither did Nick Foles in the first half. Yeah, he didn't have a turnover. I'll give him that, but he didn't have a touchdown either. It was really the occasional good running plays of Jay Ajayi, which was a great pickup by Howie Roseman, the general manager of the Eagles, who, by the way, just won Executive of the Year. Congratulations by the writers, football writers. So well-deserved of that. For the deal he made to get him, the way Carson Wentz played this year, and with Doug Peterson getting this offense and defense working, and being the number 1 seeded team at 13-3, I think all that warranted Harry Roseman that award. Now, as for the Eagles themselves, it all came down to this final play of the game. The Atlanta Falcons with a scoring chance, 1st and goal at the Philadelphia 9-yard line. Why Why didn't the Atlanta Falcons run the ball with Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman in the first two plays in that situation, and then on third down go for the passing play to either Taylor Gabriel, Humanawani, or in the left corner of the end zone to Julio Jones? Why did they decide to go for a Julio Jones pass that didn't do anything? And again, so Sarkisian really did something. It didn't game plan well in this instance. So they had to. It was 4th and goal from the Philadelphia 2. Ball gets snapped to Matt Ryan, rolls to his right, has nothing at first. Then he goes to his right again. He sees a potential play, throws it up in the air to Julio Jones, and it misses, and nothing happens. So therefore, Atlanta had to turn the ball over on downs. Philadelphia killed the clock, and they won 15-10. The last 3 weeks, this Eagle squad has scored maybe 34 points. That's it. Nick Foles, to me, ever since the Giants game, which they won 34-20, has not been the same. More interceptions than he's had touchdowns in these last few weeks. He's going to have to be on his A game for this Eagle squad if they want to win against the next opponent I'm going to mention now. Minnesota Vikings, at home, number 2 seeded team against New Orleans Saints. By the way, the Falcons, next year, they have a lot of motivation working for them in 2018 because the next Super Bowl 53 is going to be at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. They want to play in that game, so look out for this Falcon squad next year. Redemption is on the way, folks. It's going to be the ride of your life in Georgia. In Atlanta, that is. Georgia. Well, anyway, now going to the other NFC divisional game. Saints, Vikings. Saints had a lackluster first half, to say the least. 17 points they gave up, including a pitch to the left side to Jerick McKinnon, Latavius Murray making a touchdown play, and a field goal. And then the second half begins, and the Saints turn on the engines. All of a sudden, they were able to play. Because in the first half, Drew Brees was held to 0.0 passer rating, which is kind of unheard of for a guy of his caliber. This was, statistically, in terms of passing yards, he had 300 less passing yards, but he completed passing 72% of the time, which is an NFL record. And when you have a good array of receivers like Michael Thomas and then a great two-headed monster running back in Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, it kind of baffled me that they didn't come out of the gates, plugging away and getting touchdowns in the first half. Well, the second half comes in the span of 3 minutes. Drew Brees throws 2 big touchdown plays to Michael Thomas, including on the first one concluding on a 12-play, 80-yard drive. And the second one was set up at the Minnesota 40 by a costly Case Keenum interception on a very off-balance throw, which led to to the second touchdown in 3 minutes and 1 second. And then how about Alvin Kamara scoring another touchdown in the game? But then it looked like the go-ahead field goal was scored by the Minnesota Vikings by which was not Kai Forbath, the field goal, the place kicker for the Vikings, and they're up 23-21. Then Kai Forbath, then Will Lutz, gets the go-ahead 43-yard field goal with 25 seconds remaining, and they're up 24-23. It's 25 seconds. The Vikings have only 2 timeouts. So the ensuing Vikings drive comes. The ball is kicked into the end zone. They start their own 25. They go up 6 yards and get a first down. So they're at their own 31. Then they get to the 39-yard line. They need to get a first down, a big play to get them within field goal range for Kai Forbath to at least, get the game-winning, to win the game. Instead, it's 3rd and 10 at their own 39-yard line. Case Keenum add the shotgun. Ball snapped to him. Goes to his right. Sees Stephon Diggs one-on-one with Marcus Williams. Throws the ball up in the air. And Marcus Williams, all he has to do with 10 seconds left in the game. No timeouts for the Vikings. All Marcus Williams, the rookie safety for the Saints, All he has to do is tackle the wide receiver Stephon Diggs for the Vikings. Unfortunately, he misses by just as much underneath. And what happens? Stephon Diggs does something that will be in the annals and lore of not just Vikings history, but NFL history. He catches the ball, both feet on the ground, inbounds on the right sideline, and dashes with 10 seconds left for the game-winning touchdown. Purple Rain, 29-24 over the New Orleans Saints. And they march themselves into the NFC title game leading up to this weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles of Broad Street. Some of the most passionate fans, and the same fans who, of course, pelted Santa Claus in the face with a snowball. But, hey, that's neither here nor there, folks. Ancient history, as I like to say. Now, in this particular game right here, you have, which is really amazing, the two top defenses against the run. So for both teams, running the ball may be hard. So this could come down to good old-fashioned quarterback playing. And who would have thought the two quarterbacks would be starting against each other in the most pivotal game of their careers would be Nick Foles for the Philadelphia Eagles and Case Keenum for the Minnesota Vikings. I would ask any person, and nobody would have imagined this scenario playing out for the 2017 postseason. But yet, lo and behold, here we are, Nick Foles versus Case Keenum. And I'm going to be honest, Philadelphia, granted they can stop the run, they can't stop the pass for anything. 17th in the league. They give up 227.3 yards a game. And let's not forget to mention, too, the Vikings have a better class receivers and running backs than Atlanta did. Atlanta during the regular season was good, but in the postseason, Tevin Coleman was nowhere to be found. And Devonta Freeman had his plays here and there, but this Vikings offense, when you think about it, yes, Philadelphia's secondary, they got Ronald Darby and they got several other corners, but there's no way they're going to be able to contend against the likes of Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. Two guys, similar receivers, who can catch vertically in the post, in the slot, on crazy wheel and out routes. And then you got Kyle Rudolph, one of the most underrated tight end. Well, that's the other thing. You have two of the most underrated tight ends playing against each other, Zach Ertz for the Eagles and Kyle Rudolph for the Vikings. So those two could be the X factors, I think, possibly. But at the same time, Philadelphia's pass defense is what scares me about them. And not only that, Nick Foles is not quelling my fears either. If you look at what he's done the last few weeks, he was 23 of 30 for 246 yards with 100.1 passer rating against the Falcons and no interceptions, no turnovers, but he had no touchdowns. And the last time in his two career playoff games with the Eagles, the last time he lost in 2014 to the Saints, 26-24, but he's not playing the Saints. He's playing the Vikings. And the Vikings team with those two guys, those two receivers, and with the running backs like Jerick McKinnon and Latavius Murray, done a great job in place of their running back, from Florida State, they've done a great job, including Jerick McKinnon, who's an electric back out of the backfield, and especially in open space is dangerous to behold. But it's really the defense of the Vikings that is so special. You think they gave up the least amount of points in the league this year, 15.8. Yards given up per game, 275.9, number one in the NFL. And you have Everson Griffin, who is probably a defensive player of the year candidate, tied for fourth in the league with a career best 13 sacks. You have all those pieces in Minnesota, despite Philadelphia having a good set of receivers in Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith and Zach Ertz, their tight end, despite the fact that they have a great set of running backs in Corey Clement and Jay Ajayi and LeGarrette Blount, especially LeGarrette Blount. If he's there on those fourth quarter situations or goal line situations, he can be dangerous to look out for. But I cannot in any way pick the Philadelphia Eagles. I am going with the Minnesota Vikings, the Purple People Eaters, to try and get to their first Super Bowl since Super Bowl 11. That's right. It was Super Bowl 11 back in 1976 when they lost to the Oakland Raiders, when Fred Blitnikoff was the wide receiver of the Raiders and was the MVP of that Super Bowl. When it was the game in which when Kenny Stabler, the late Kenny Stabler, was the first left-handed quarterback to ever win. Then until 15 years later when Steve Young did it for the 49ers in Super Bowl 29 against the Chargers. But getting back to the Vikings, that was the era of the Purple People Eaters when you think about it, with Carl Eller and Gary Larson and the judge Alan Page. You had 4 guys that all are Hall of Famers on that great defense. Could we see a reincarnation of that Purple People Eaters? I think so. And not forgetting to mention, though, that secondary with Xavier Rhodes. I hope that Andrew Sendejo will be able to overcome the concussion that he had from last week, that he'll be able to play this week, because he's definitely going to be needed in that secondary to help Harrison Smith, another good member of that secondary. But overall, I think this Vikings team is so complete from offense, defense, special teams. I think they're going to outscore the Philadelphia, especially in the second half. Look for them to really shine in that part of the game. That's why I got the Vikings and the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl this year. I know a lot of people. Some people say that they won't watch the Super Bowl if it's not, if it's not Vikings and Jaguars, and that's your right. You can watch whatever you want to do. It's your right. Me personally, and this is just me, I'm going to watch no matter who plays. Well, of course I have to watch. I do the show. I got to be able to talk about those games with you. So watching these games is tantamount for me on this show, is predicated for me to do this show. But for other fans, I honestly think if you do see Philadelphia, if it's Philadelphia and New England, if it's any of the teams, whoever wins, I think this is going to be a great Super Bowl no matter what. I truly believe this is going to be yet another great Super Bowl we're going to have, with great entertainment led by Pink singing the national anthem and the most highly anticipated halftime show we've seen in years with Justin Timberlake and all the secrets that he's keeping. Are we going to see Janet Jackson back, from what took place years ago? I'm not even going to talk about it because we are on a family network, but because of what took place at that time, a lot of families called the FCC, and that incident was responsible for the 10-second delay that we all have on live television. So maybe, we'll see her again. And NSYNC, there's no way NSYNC is not going to be playing. There's going to be an NSYNC appearance for sure. And could be some other special guests. Who knows? Whatever it is, it's going to be the best 13 minutes of your lives. So definitely tune in for that as well. And betting and eating. Super Bowl is the greatest day for eating too. And honestly, the day after should be declared a federal holiday. But with the current administration and the animosity and between administration and the NFL, that's not going to happen likely in this lifetime. Maybe when the next administration rolls in. But I'm just saying it would be nice, after all the food and alcohol and everything that we ingest, that we get at least a day to recover from all that. But whatever. It is what it is at this moment. But I'm so excited. I cannot wait for Championship Sunday. It's going to be the best 4 or 5 hours of your life. And that's really all that's in football. And in entertainment news, we're getting closer and closer to the Oscars, which take place Sunday, March 4th. As you know, not only do I perform as your host every Friday, with the Blitz Zone, now I also do an Oscar special, which is going to be entering its 7th annual season. Annual show, that is. I'm very excited. Of course, in the first 4 shows, I had my good friend Andrew Connolly, and I do miss him. He's a really good person, and he's such a knowledgeable person too when it comes to entertainment and cinema. So you are definitely missed on the last 2 Oscar shows, and you will be missed yet again. And I will do my best, without you, but it's definitely not the same. You're You're just great, man. I hope all the best for you wherever you are. And now, as for the Oscar show itself, there are going to be some really good films to contend for Best Picture. The Shape of Water is going to be in contention this year. Look out, of course, for its competition, 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, which could have 2 actors win Best Actress for Frances McDormand and possibly Sam Rockwell. Both, can win and get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. But who knows? Things could change. My predictions could change as well. So definitely tune in when the show takes place. And there are going to be some other good films to look out for. Lady Bird, The Disaster Artist, about the worst film ever made, and James Franco's electric performance. And as I mentioned, The Shape of Water by director Guillermo del Toro and his visionary stylistic directing. Granted, that's not a word. And storytelling. And then you have Phantom Thread, the last film ever done by Daniel Day-Lewis. The Post by Steven Spielberg, starring Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep. And then you have Call Me By Your Name, Lucas Guadagnino, whose film came out at Sundance last year. Could have 2 nominees in Timothée Chalamet for Best Actor, and of course Armie Hammer for Best Supporting Actor. Mudbound could have Mary J. Blige in her first ever Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. It's on Netflix, so definitely it's a post World War II era film in Mississippi. So definitely check that out. And just all these films. It's a great time. And the next awards ceremony is actually this Sunday on Championship Sunday, 8 o'clock on TNT and TBS simulcasting the 21st annual Screen Actors Guild Awards, with this year's honoree is going to be what some people call the voice of God. And I'm sorry for my blasphemous comment, but some people call him the voice of God, Morgan Freeman, one of the most beloved actors in our history, who won back in 2004 for Best Supporting Actor for his role in $1 Million Baby, which also won Best Film that year, Best Picture that year too. Directed wonderfully by Clint Eastwood, and the Best Actress winner at that time, Hilary Swank. Yeah, so I love football and I love films, my 2 favorite things in the entire world, and I love discussing them with you. And I don't know what else to say with 2 minutes to go, but go out to the cinema. But for Sunday, if you're going to go see a film, I recommend a 12 o'clock film, and which I'm probably actually going to do this Sunday. And tomorrow I'm going to probably check out The Darkest Hour, which Gary Oldman, which could be his year. Finally, the guy deserves something after all the incredible performances he's put in his career, especially in the professional, where he was completely and utterly crazy and psychotic, or as Dracula in Bram Stoker's version of Dracula, just films like that. But him playing Winston Churchill, it's scary how much he looks and sounds like him. Now, less than a minute to go, definitely check out the games. 3:05, the AFC title game between the Patriots and Jaguars on CBS, and the NFC title game at 6:40 on Fox. Tony Romo and Jim Nantz are going to be calling the CBS game, and you have Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on the Fox game for the NFC. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, every single week inviting me into your living rooms, your bars, wherever you may be, to watch the Blitz Zone. For all the hardworking men and women at CTV, from Mr. Kenneth Graham behind the booth, as he always does wonderfully, I'm your host, Eric Rosen. I'll see you here next week for the Pro Bowl edition of the Blitz Zone, here on CTV. Good night, Staten Island, peace.